Guys, peep my shirt. Isn't it such a cool shirt? This is one of my lucky deployment shirts. I got it on my first deployment. I brought it to my last two. All right, I'm gonna be really serious, guys. Let's be very serious about this. Okay. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome back to those who are returning. My name is Angel. I'm a flight nurse in the Air Force, and my channel is all about my life as a military nurse, specifically as a flight nurse. I come to you guys with military tips and basically talk to you about things I wish I had known at any point in my career. If you are not already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any content that I have to provide. I really appreciate the support. Today I'm coming to you with an Air Force nursing question and answer. Ever since I joined Instagram, I've gotten so many questions about Air Force nursing. Since I started tagging US Air Force nursing and military nursing and flight nursing, I get all these questions, and I've been wanting to for years put together a video, Air Force nursing question and answer, because a lot of the questions get very repetitive, so I figured a video would be really helpful as a reference to answer questions for people who are curious or interested in joining the Air Force Nursing Corps. This honestly was supposed to be my first video, but I'm getting to it now. If you are at all interested in hearing about Air Force nursing, then stay tuned. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Before we delve in, I wanted to show you the basic qualifications to be a nurse in the Air Force. You have to meet these qualifications and criteria before you start the process to become a U.S. Air Force nurse. The first question I got was, what made you decide to join the Air Force? I was working as a step-down ICU nurse at a small community hospital in Florida. I worked there immediately out of nursing school, and I loved it. I was learning a lot. I was feeling challenged for about 6 months. At the 6-month mark, I just kind of got bored. I just wasn't feeling challenged anymore, and I felt like something was missing. And honestly, most of all, I wanted to travel. So I considered a few things. I was like, I can do travel nursing. I could, go to a bigger hospital. I thought about all those options, but my friend Nautica, shout out to Nautica, hey boo, if you're watching, she was beginning the process to join the Navy. And I was like, military. That kind of seems like I would be able to travel, and I don't think it would be boring, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to be a little bit challenging. So she was joining the Navy, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and call a recruiter and join the Navy. The Navy, however, did not want me. They wanted intensive care unit nurses, and I was a progressive care unit nurse, so there's a difference. So they did not want me, so I was like, okay, bet, I'm gonna go to the Air Force. And I called an Air Force recruiter, and the rest is history. A lot of people say, what were the motivating factors to joining? And obviously I was 22 at the time, just keep that in mind, so I was pretty young, and patriotism and call to service and duty for your country, that was there. Yes, that was there, absolutely, 100%, but it was not the main motivating factor for me joining. I would say the absolute motivating factor for me joining the Air Force was to travel. I'm a nomad, I can't sit in one place. I love to travel. I wanted to see the world. I had not really been outside of the United States. I had maybe gone to like 3 or 4 countries at that point, at the age of 22. So I really wanted to travel, and I knew by joining the military I would have the opportunity to do that. I also had quite a bit of school loans that I had racked up from nursing school, so I wanted to also pay off my school loans. Those were the two main motivating factors that led me to join the Air Force. The next question is, what was the process you went through to join the Air Force? So there are multiple ways to join the Air Force Nursing Corps. I joined through direct commission. And basically with direct commissioning, you can join right out of nursing school, or you can work as a civilian nurse for X amount of years and then join afterwards. I think it's a great deal. It's the route that I went, but you can also join through ROTC, which is a 3 to 4 year program. It's a college program, and basically you have to, in addition to your nursing program and your nursing classes, you have to do like leadership courses, some physical training. I know that you have to do an Air Force PT test every so often. I did not go that route, so I'm not the subject matter expert on ROTC, but I do know that that not everybody gets scholarships with ROTC. And the program is time consuming and grueling. So if you are going to go that route, it is my personal opinion that you, at a very minimum, get some of your school paid for. I have a friend who went through the whole ROTC program, had to do all of the requirement, including field training, and she didn't get a dime out of that program. So I don't think personally it's worth the investment to go through all of that and not get your school paid for. So I know that there are scholarships for nursing programs, but there's only a limited amount that they can give. So I'm not the subject matter expert on ROTC, but that is another option. The third option that I'm aware of is the Nurse Education Commissioning Program, and that is offered to enlisted members, and you can apply after you have completed certain nursing prerequisites. If you are currently enlisted and interested in joining commissioning as a nurse, speak with your command, speak with a chief nurse at your base to get more information on it. I know many people, a lot of my friends prior enlisted have gone through NECP, and although the program is very competitive, it is 100% doable. So those are the three options that I am aware of. There could be more out there that I'm not privy to, but that's what I know. Now that I've spoken to you guys about the different ways to join, let me talk to you a little bit about the steps that I went through and the process that I went through to join. The very first step you want to do is to contact your local health professions recruiter. So health professions recruiter, they're different from the other recruiters. They specifically focus on health professions, so like nurses, doctors, pharmacists, things of that nature. So you want to contact your health professions recruiter. That's the very first step. I'm showing you guys the airforce.com website. It has a plethora of information on different career fields, joining criteria and requirements. It's an amazing beginning point for people interested in joining. To find a recruiter, you're going to go to the connect button, and then on the left hand side you're going to find a recruiter and type in your zip code. Make sure you put healthcare student or professional, and there you go. That is going to be the person that you're going to call. Believe it or not, the Air Force is pretty competitive to get into. 8 years ago, I did not have a very hard time getting in. I called the recruiter, he asked me some questions, and he's like, okay, you're good to go, let's go ahead and start the process, and start the application process. But now, sometimes it's hard to even get recruiters on the phone. So I would say contact your local recruiter and continue calling them, leave messages. I do not know what the acceptance rate is today, but just call and call and call and call until you get somebody on the phone. Okay, so that's the very first step. Contact your local health professions recruiter. Once you contact your health professions recruiter, the second step is to obviously fill out an application. So they will give you an application. You have to write an essay and answer some questions. Again, this is my experience from 8 years ago. It could have very well changed, but yeah, they're gonna make you fill out an application, and then you're gonna answer some questions. Once you get through that step, you're gonna have to do a chief nurse interview. So the chief nurse will ask you questions like, why do you wanna join the Air Force? What are the Air Force core values? Are you prepared to deploy? Things of that nature. I will do an in-depth chief nurse interview video. I don't want to make this video too long. It's already going to be pretty long, so I will do a separate video on how to prep for a chief nurse interview. The next thing that they're going to have you do is go to MEPS. and it's like the military entrance. Ooh, let me go look that up. I'll be right back. The military entrance processing station. So they do a physical on you. They ask you about your medical history. It's a pretty invasive exam, so just mentally prepare yourself for that. Once you have contacted your local recruiter, completed your application, done your chief nurse interview, gone to MEPS, I know that they give you the option to choose your top 5, or maybe it's top 10, I can't remember, top 5 duty stations. So they'll give you they'll tell you, say, choose your top 5 duty stations in the US, choose your top 5 duty stations overseas. And so they try to match, if you were to get accepted, they try to match you with a base of your choice, that based on what, depending on what you put on that sheet. Let's talk a little bit about bonuses. Money, 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 money. Money. When I joined, I was able to get a $15,000 bonus along with some of my school loans being paid off. So they didn't pay for everything, but they did pay for quite a bit along with that $15,000 bonus. Currently, however, I joined as a Med-Surg nurse, right? So I didn't join as a critical care nurse, an ER nurse, or OR nurse, or any of that. I joined as a Med-Surg nurse. So now, based on the most up-to-date guidance that I saw, they are only giving bonuses to ER nurses and ICU nurses. This is what I have seen. It could change tomorrow. But the most up-to-date bonus guidance is they're saying they're only giving bonuses to ER nurses and ICU nurses. So if you're commissioning and joining as a Med-Surg nurse, then you are not going to get a bonus. And that is honestly really, at least active duty. It could be different for the reserves. Active duty, no bonus. And that's very sad. If you're entitled to a bonus, you can get $20,000 for a 3-year commitment and $30,000. I wish it were $40,000. $30,000 for a 4-year commitment. I recommend speaking to your recruiter in depth about your entitlements prior to joining. Now that we've spoken about bonuses, let me speak to you guys a little bit about the different tracks. So if you are a brand new nurse, straight out of nursing school, you can go the Med-Surg track, so medical surgical nurse track, or you can do the obstetrics track. So you have to make that decision early on as to which route you want to go. And then you will do a program called the Nurse Transitioning Program, which is a year-long program. And I won't get into it in this video, but you basically go through, you have a preceptor, and it just really, before they throw you into the wild, they want to make sure that you are prepared. And it's a really amazing program. I did not go through that program because I was working as a civilian nurse, remember, for about a year. But if you're straight out of nursing school, I have heard the best things about this nurse transitioning program. Once you have completed your application, gotten accepted, then you will commission as, I guess it's the right hand, commission as a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force. Then you will go to Commission Officer Training School, which is a 5.5-week program in Alabama. And it basically teaches you how to be an officer in the United States Air Force. And then you will PCS to your first duty station and begin the journey to awesomeness. Next question is, did you find the transition from civilian to military nursing difficult, or is it pretty similar? All right. So, you know, I am the first person in my family to join the military. I had no military background. I didn't even know anyone in the military. I literally didn't know anything about the military. So, you know, when I went to commissioned officer training, it honestly was quite a bit of a culture shock. I was a hot mess, guys. Hot mess. I was first of all, the youngest in my entire class. Like, the entire it's like over, I don't know how many people, like 300 or 400 people. I was the youngest, and I was just a mess. I was a mess. I thought I was hot stuff, first and foremost. I thought I was and I wasn't. I was a mess. I was young, immature. The transition was very difficult for me. My first duty station, I also was a hot mess. My hair was out of rags, you know, my leadership style was really aggressive and I was just a mess. I don't even know how else to explain it. So the transition was hard for me, but my advice to people joining, and especially if you've come from the civilian sector, is be humble. Be humble and be open. Right? Listen to your enlisted counterparts, especially your senior non-commissioned officers. You want to listen to them because they 100% know better than you do. I also want to kind of say that, you know, you are held to a higher standard in the military. And I don't know if this is the most politically correct thing to say or the best way to say it is, but you're no longer, the government owns you, okay? So, you know, you no longer can just go and do whatever you want. You know, you are held to a higher standard. You swore an oath, and you will abide by the rules. So I just think you have to really come into the mindset that, you know, you're no longer a civilian. So yes, the transition is difficult, but it's doable. If you come in with the correct mindset. So be humble, listen, learn, and you will do just fine. Look at me, 8 years later, I'm rocking it, okay? So yes, that's the answer to that question. Next question is, how has your experience been like in the Air Force thus far? So my experience has been amazing. I have been in for nearly, there's a plane, America. Okay, still going. I have been in nearly 8 years. I have been stationed at 3 different duty stations. I'm headed to a 4th one this summer. I have deployed 3 times, and I have had the time of my life thus far. I can only speak to my personal experience, but I am a huge advocate for people joining the Air Force Nursing Corps. I have had some of the best leadership. I have made the bestest of friends, and my military family just keeps on growing. We're a family here, and yeah, I'm gonna miss you guys so much, and I don't think there's any assignment that could top this one, honestly. And it has just been an excellent experience for me. And I cannot obviously guarantee that if you join that you could say the exact same thing, but generally people in the Air Force are pretty happy. You know, I'll just briefly give you a story. I'm deployed with the Navy right now, and I go sit down in the cafeteria, and I'm smiling and just like la-di-da, eating my food, and somebody else sits down next to me, and they're like Army or Navy, and they're like, let me guess, you're in the Air Force. And I'm like, yeah, you guessed right. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's been an amazing experience thus far. When I joined, I got my sheet where it said, hey, you know, my orders, right? It said Lakenheath, and I was like, where's Lakenheath? I Google Lakenheath, and I said, I'm going to freaking England for my first duty station. I don't know. It's mind blown. And remember how I had said that my main reason and motivation for joining was to travel? I am 45 countries and counting, and I attribute that to the Air Force. I've done a lot of personal travel on my own, but Air Force has given me the opportunity to live overseas and really see all of Europe. Like, it has been amazing thus far, and the community, the military community has just, I mean, it has exceeded my expectations. So my experience has been really good, and long story short, I love it. Come over to the blue side. I'll be waiting for you guys. The one great thing about Air Force nursing and just military nursing in general is that there are so many opportunities for growth. You can start off as a medical surgical nurse or a clinic nurse, and there are just so many opportunities for growth. I do want to say that just have the expectation that you're going to need to do, so remember I said if you come in as a brand new nurse out of nursing school, you're going to need to choose OB track or Med-Surg track. realize that you're going to have to do a little bit of time in those sections. So you're going to have to work a little bit, 3 to 4 years sometimes, before you can go then and expand to other specialties. Realize that you're going to have to do some grunt work 3 to 4 years as a Med-Surg nurse or an OB nurse before you're even allowed to apply for other nursing specialties, such as flight nursing, which is what I'm doing. I worked as a Med-Surg, I worked as a clinic nurse for 2 years and then as a Med-Surg nurse for almost 4 years before I applied or was even really allowed to apply to do flight nursing. So please keep that in mind, that you do have to do a little bit of time, right? Learn, become proficient as a basic nurse first before you then expand into flight nursing or OR nursing or ER nursing or ICU nursing. I could go on and on. There are so many opportunities, and that's one of the most amazing things about being an Air Force nurse, is that you don't have to be put into one little box. You can grow, you can expand your knowledge, you can get your master's and go to school through using tuition assistance. I got my master's, I started my master's program in 2013, finished in 2016, all paid for by the Air Force. Realize that everybody's experience varies, but I do believe if you put in the work, you put in the time, that you will be successful. Next question is active duty or reserves / guard, which is the better option? I am an active duty nurse and I love being active duty. However, speaking to some of my nurse friends in the reserves, they say that the reserves is the best kept secret. You do your 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, and you're done. Others say that it is harder than active duty because you still have to deal with the same politics and hardship as active duty, but now you have your military job and you have your civilian job. So, you know, I guess it just depends on who you speak with. Others say that it's great, like being in the reserves, especially if you're single, but even with a family, it can become really difficult to get that work-life balance. So my advice for those wanting to know active duty versus reserves versus guard, speak to your recruiter and weigh the pros and cons. The next question is, do you deploy as a nurse? 100% yes. You will deploy as a nurse. You will be placed in a deployment cycle, and then you are tasked to deploy within the months of your deployment cycle. You could deploy anywhere from every 20 months to, you know, every I don't know. There's no like, yes, you will deploy at this time, you know. So I can't say, you know, yes, you will deploy, but be prepared to deploy when you join. Be prepared. And honestly, you want to deploy. You gain a breadth of experience and knowledge on deployments. They are fun, and you make great friends and long-lasting relationships on deployments. You want to look forward to deployments. I have been on 3 thus far, and they have all been really spectacular. So I highly recommend making sure before you join, have that mindset that yes, I will deploy. If you are an ICU nurse or ER nurse or some sort of specialty care nurse, you could be deploying more often than that 20-month cycle. So just be aware of that. And deployments can last anywhere from 4 to 12 months. I have a video on 10 things I wish I had known prior to my first deployment. Go check it out if you are interested in kind of knowing a little bit about deployments. But you will deploy as a nurse. You want to deploy as a nurse. Look forward to deployments. And of course, say your prayers. Next question is, I want to join but have a family and have 3 children. Does this play a factor? I am currently unmarried. I only have a dog. What up, dog? So single, unmarried, I have no children, so I cannot speak to my personal experience regarding this, but I do have many nurse friends who are married with children and who are even single parents, and from what they've told me, it is 100% doable. But you do have to have a good support system in place. And also, you have to ask yourself questions like, what does your significant other do? Are you guys dual military? What if both of you guys get tasked to deploy at the same time? Who is your support system? Who's gonna watch your kids if you go on a mission? You know, you have to have these questions answered long before you join, and you also have to have a good support system in place. I do believe that it's 100% doable if you have a plan ahead of time. Don't just join without having the answers to these questions. Next question I'm going to answer is, how are the nursing hours in patient acuities? The nursing hours vary depending on where you work. When I worked as a clinic nurse at Lakenheath, I pretty much worked 7 to 5-ish, 7 to 4:30-ish. Can't really remember, it was a long time ago. So you'll work your basic kind of day hours. If you're working inpatient on a inpatient ward, you could do Panama schedule where you're working 2 days on, 2 days off, 3 days on, 2 days off, and that kind of thing. So it's pretty similar to civilian nursing as far as the hours go, but realize that you might be working more and you can't really say no. It's like if they're like, I'm gonna need you to come in and do an extra shift, you can't really say, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. You can't do that, okay? So realize you're in the military, you might be working a little bit more hours than your civilian counterparts, but finally got a lunch. I'm pretty tired, but 3.5 more hours. It's part of the job, it's what you signed up for. As far as patient acuities go, patient acuities are actually lower than the civilian sector. So I talk to a lot of my ER and ICU nurses. A lot of times they have to moonlight on the civilian sector to keep up their skills because in general, there's only one DoD level 1. There's only one DoD level 1 trauma center, and that is Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio. One in the entire DoD, guys. So the patients are pretty critical there, but you think about the other hospitals, the patient acuities are generally lower than our civilian sector. So just keep that in mind. You want to make sure that you're keeping your skills up and just being proficient, because when you deploy, you're going to need those skills. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys got some value from it. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button. I really appreciate the support. And if you are not already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell. Thank you for flying with Angel. I will see you guys in my next video.